There's been an outcry in the U.S. media after Donald Trump's criticism of the migrant situation in Sweden.
You look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden. Who would believe this? Sweden. They took in large numbers. They're having problems like they never thought possible.
After Mr. Trump's remarks, many media outlets ridiculed the president for his views on migrant policy in Sweden. They said that Swedes themselves were left baffled, arguing no serious incidents involving migrants had taken place at that time.
Turns out no incident occurred in Sweden, which is actually headline news there. Nothing happens again. And no one, it's very quiet. It's very quiet, it's very safe.
Well, the Swedish embassy in the U.S. says it's planning to inform the Trump administration on its immigration and integration policies. A former Swedish Prime Minister, a bit less diplomatic, referring to Trump's speech about European terror attacks, he asked on Twitter, what has he been smoking? However, 2 days after Trump's remarks were ridiculed, riots broke out in a mostly migrant neighbourhood in Stockholm. Legal analyst Lionel told us it doesn't really matter what Donald Trump has to say. He'll still get panned by the Western media anyway.
They're hanging on everything he does. They're not letting up. You have no idea of how every once reputable news source is going after every persnickety, insignificant, de minimis trait about him, his family, it's gotten, well, they said critical mass. What he's saying was maybe true, and all you have to do is do a cursory, perfunctory review of the news as to what's going on in Sweden. This is another example of how they jump on him. This is par for the course. This is what we go through every day.
Meanwhile, furious opposition to President Donald Trump's leadership and policies continues to grow across America. And in the state of California, 1 in 3 now think secession may be the only solution. Correspondent Caleb Mopan reports.
California is not turning back, not now, not ever. His truth is marching on.
If we have to, we'll defund. We give tremendous amounts of money to California.
So you're going to defund.
California in many ways is out of control, as you know. Obviously, the voters agree. Otherwise, they wouldn't have voted for me.
Donald Trump and the Golden State are clearly not happy with each other. Californians have been approved to start collecting signatures for a state referendum on CalExit.
CalExit is now trending on social media. Inspired by the Scottish independence movement and the Brexit vote across the ocean, Californians are now talking secession.
They're different. We're different from each other. And again, so how can one government do a good job? It doesn't look like it's done it so far, of representing everyone. We have our own government. We have an incredibly strong economy. I think equivalent to France, we're like 6th largest economy in the world. Not just in this country, in the whole world. And a lot of people identify Californians as distinct from America.
California is not a poor state by any means. It's got San Francisco, Hollywood, and Silicon Valley, the booming center of computer technology. Many Californians are now asking, why stay connected to the rest of the country, especially when there's such a big difference in terms of culture and values?
We have military, we have agriculture, we have strong exports and imports. We're ready.
I think if we separated, we would be perfectly fine. It's just the rest of the country that would be at worry, I guess.
Ironically, when something big happened, California requested federal money to help with the Oroville Dam crisis. Many Californians we spoke to on the streets just don't think California could function as an independent country.
What do you think of CalExit?
I don't think it's a good idea because I think that without California, the U.S. would be a pretty bad place.
I love California, it'd be cool, but I don't think that's the responsible thing to do for the country as a whole at all.
I don't think it's a good idea. I think that when we were talking about California, we're talking about a huge segment
Here in San Francisco, the local police and sheriffs have announced they're not going to enforce Trump's executive orders or cooperate with his immigration crackdown. So with local governments so blatantly defying federal authority, is this a sign of a bigger crisis ahead down the road? Caleb Boppin, RT, California.